Imagine our world, but 50 million years from now. Humanity is a forgotten whisper, a thin layer of strange fossils buried deep beneath new earth and shifting seas. The oceans, once choked and weary, have had time to breathe, to heal, and to become something terrifyingly new. At first glance, the surface looks familiar. A vast, shimmering expanse of blue under a silent sun. But something is profoundly wrong with this picture. It is the quiet that first unnerves you. This is an ocean without the flash of a leaping dolphin, without the telltale fin cutting through the waves. This is the silence after the storm, an unnerving calm that feels less like peace and more like anticipation. What happened to the rulers of this domain? The answer lies buried in the past, in a catastrophic event we called the Holocene extinction. This wasn't just another downturn in the planet's long history. It was a reset button pressed with devastating force. The world's apex predators, the undisputed masters of the ancient seas, were wiped from the evolutionary slate. The great white shark, a perfect killing machine honed over millennia, is gone. The orca, whose intelligence and social complexity rivaled our own, is now just a ghost in the fossil record. Their absence has created a void, a gaping wound in the food web. The ocean has become a kingdom without a king, a throne of power left vacant for an impossibly long time, waiting for a new claimant to emerge. There is a fundamental law in ecology, a phrase you have likely heard before: nature abhors a vacuum. This isn't just a poetic saying. It is one of the most powerful and relentless drivers of evolution. When a critical role in an ecosystem, especially that of the apex predator, is left empty, life doesn't just sit by. It scrambles, it adapts, it mutates, and it competes with ferocious creativity to fill that void. So the question was never if a new ruler would rise in these future oceans. The only question that ever mattered was what it would be, and what terrifying new form it would take to claim the crown. Our first glimpse into the new order comes not with a roar, but with a flicker. Picture a colossal shoal of silver-skinned fish, millions of individuals moving as one, a shimmering river of life in the open ocean. Suddenly, the river shatters. The shoal explodes outwards in a panic so absolute it defies logic, a sphere of terror expanding in every direction at once. But there was no chase, no sleek torpedo-shaped hunter charging into their midst. One moment, the space at the center of the shoal was filled with thousands of bodies. The next, it's just empty, blue water. The fish were not just frightened. They were simply erased, plucked from existence by something moving too fast for the eye to even register. Then you see it, or rather, you almost see it. A shadow passes in the deep blue below, a fleeting silhouette against the sunlit haze. It is not the familiar, muscular grace of a shark, nor the powerful fluke of a whale. This shadow is wrong, unnervingly so. It is impossibly long, fragmented, and it moves with a liquid horror that doesn't seem to follow the rules of biomechanics. It ripples, it contorts, and as it banks in the distant water, you catch the most disturbing detail of all. There are limbs, too many of them, propelling the creature with an alien pulse. This is not swimming as we know it. This is something else entirely, a new and deeply unsettling form of locomotion. What kind of creature could possibly move like that? The sheer speed suggests a metabolism burning hotter than any reptile, yet the form breaks all the rules of vertebrate evolution. No fish or mammal from our time could ever produce a shape so fluid and complex. This is not a descendant. This is a complete reimagining of what a predator can be. The mystery deepens from a simple question of what is it, to a far more disturbing one: how is it even possible? This creature seems to be built from a different blueprint, a biological schematic drawn up in a world with entirely new rules for survival and dominance. This presence introduces a new kind of fear into the ocean, one that is far more primal than the simple fear of being eaten. This is the dread of the unknown, the chilling realization that you are sharing the water with something that is fundamentally incomprehensible. The ancient predators were terrifying, but they were familiar, their violence a known quantity. This new hunter feels different. Its impossible speed and alien shape hint at an intelligence that is not just predatory, but perhaps something more. The profound silence of this future ocean suddenly takes on a new, sinister meaning. It's not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of something listening. The monsters that now haunt these waters are not just bigger, meaner versions of the animals we once knew. They are the bizarre, unexpected heirs to a vacant throne, their forms shaped by the strange and winding paths evolution takes after a global catastrophe. To understand these new nightmares, to even begin to comprehend the creature that just vanished into the blue, we cannot look to the great beasts of our past for answers. We must instead look down, to the survivors, to the small and the overlooked, to the creatures we thought of as mere curiosities. For it is in these unlikely beginnings that the future kings were forged, hiding in plain sight, and just waiting for their chance to rule. If the great vertebrate hunters are gone, who steps up to fill their shoes? The answer has been staring us in the face for millions of years, blinking at us with strange, W-shaped pupils. We often think of evolution as a ladder with mammals at the top, but in the ocean, the game is different. With whales and sharks out of the picture, the shackles are finally off for a group of animals that have always been smart, fast, and adaptable, the cephalopods. For eons, they were the snacks, the clever underdogs hiding in caves to avoid being eaten. But now, the playground is empty, and the bullies are gone. It is time for the rise of the invertebrate kings. Imagine a squid, but not the shy, solitary creatures we know today. Evolution has done something terrifyingly brilliant with their design. It has given them the one weapon they lacked: true social cooperation. Meet the social squid, or perhaps we should call them the wolves of the water. They have grown, yes, reaching lengths of 4 or 5 meters, but their true power isn't in their size. It is in their minds. They don't hunt alone. They hunt in packs, moving with a synchronization that makes a school of tuna look clumsy. They have developed a complex language, not of sounds, but of flashing colors and skin patterns, allowing them to coordinate attacks in absolute silence. Let's put you in the water with them to truly understand the horror of this new hierarchy. You are a prey animal, perhaps a large future mackerel, swimming in what you think is open, safe water. The sun is filtering down, creating dancing beams of light that seem perfectly normal. But then, you notice the water around you changing. It isn't getting darker, it's getting patterned. The blue void is suddenly filled with strobing bands of black and white, rippling in a rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. You aren't being chased. You are being herded, guided into a killing box by living walls that can change their appearance at will. This is their masterstroke, a predatory adaptation that borders on hypnosis. The social squid don't just use their color-changing chromatophores to hide anymore. They use them to dazzle. By flashing high-contrast patterns in unison, they create a sensory overload that confuses your lateral line and overwhelms your visual cortex. You freeze, mesmerized by the beautiful, shifting geometry of your own death. It is a trap made of light, a psychedelic prison that holds you in place while the pack closes the net. The terror here isn't about speed or teeth. It's about losing control of your own senses. When the strike finally comes, it is surgical. The pack doesn't just tear into the shoal. They dismantle it with the efficiency of a special operations team. Tentacles shoot out with hydraulic speed, tipped not just with suckers, but with sharp, rotating hooks derived from ancient ancestral claws. They target the gills, the eyes, the most vulnerable points, disabling prey before they can even thrash. There is no wasted energy, no blood frenzy, just a cold, calculated harvest. This is intelligence weaponized in a way the ocean has never seen before, a hive-mind brutality that makes the chaotic feeding frenzies of sharks look primitive. What makes these creatures truly the stuff of nightmares is that they watch you back. If you were to look into the eye of a shark, you see instinct. Look into the eye of a social squid and you see calculation. They learn. They remember. If a particular hunting strategy fails today, the entire pack will have a new one ready by tomorrow. They are the first predators in history to potentially pass down culture, teaching their young not just how to hunt, but how to trick, how to trap, and how to solve the problem of you. The ocean is no longer just a physical battleground. It has become a chessboard. As the feeding ends, the flashing patterns fade, and the squad dissolves back into the blue, invisible once more. The water returns to its eerie calm, leaving no trace of the massacre that just occurred. The only evidence is the drifting scales and the lingering sense that the water itself is watching. This is the new reality of the surface world. A place where beauty is a weapon and intelligence is the ultimate predator. The invertebrates have not just risen. They have taken over, turning the open ocean into a domain of silent, shimmering terror. They are the masters of the light, the rulers of the shallow, sun-drenched seas. But while the social squid conquer the light with brilliance and speed, a very different story is unfolding below. Down in the crushing blackness of the abyss, where sunlight never reaches, evolution has taken a cruder, much darker path. Intelligence is expensive. In the deep, it costs too many calories to think. Down there, the new masters are mindless, massive, and eternally hungry. We are leaving the realm of the smart and entering the kingdom of the grotesque. Prepare yourself, for we are about to descend into the midnight zone, where the only rule is to eat or be eaten by something that nightmares are made of. We leave the flashing lights of the surface war behind and sink. Down here, the water gets heavy, pressing against your chest with the weight of 1,000 atmospheres. The sun is a distant memory, and the cold is absolute. Welcome to the midnight zone, the abyss where the rules of life are twisted by extreme pressure and eternal darkness. In this crushing silence, evolution doesn't favor the fast or the brilliant. It favors the efficient and the monstrous. You might think this place is dead, a wasteland of mud and silence, but you would be dead wrong. The dark is not empty. It is full of things that have grown too big for their own good. There is a strange law in the deep ocean called abyssal gigantism. It's a paradox. In a place with so little food, why do the animals get so massive? The answer is a mix of cold, slow metabolisms, and a desperate need to cover vast distances to find a meal. On land, an island can turn elephants into dwarfs, but in the deep sea, the isolation turns isopods and eels into giants. The creatures here are the descendants of the scavengers, the hagfish, the slime eels, the things that clean up the mess. But 50 million years of solitude have changed them. They are no longer the cleaners. They are the consumers. Out of the gloom looms the abyssal maw. It is a nightmare descendant of the humble hagfish, but it has grown to the size of a subway car. It has no eyes, for eyes are useless expenses in a world without photons. Instead, its face is a writhing mass of sensory tendrils, trembling like a living beard that tastes the water for the chemical signature of fear. Its skin is loose, pale, and coated in a layer of mucus so thick it acts as a shield against the crushing pressure. It doesn't swim so much as it drifts, a ghost ship of flesh navigating the black currents. Imagine being near it. You wouldn't see it coming. You would feel it. The first sign is a change in the water pressure, a displacement that hits you like a silent shockwave. Then comes the smell, a metallic, cloying scent of ancient decay that permeates the water. You are blind, floating in the ink, but your skin crawls as the water around you thickens. This isn't just slime. It's a sensory web. The maw excretes a cloud of sticky, conductive mucus that spreads out for hundreds of meters, turning the surrounding ocean into an extension of its own nervous system. You haven't just entered its territory, you have touched its skin. The horror of the abyssal maw is that it doesn't bite. Biting requires energy, and snapping jaws can miss. Instead, it engulfs. When a prey animal, perhaps a giant, confused squid from the surface, blunders into the slime web, the maw reacts with terrifying slowness. It opens a jaw that is less like a mouth and more like a cargo bay door, unhinging to reveal a throat lined with thousands of backward-facing teeth. It creates a sudden, violent vacuum, sucking in gallons of water, slime, and prey in one singular, wet heave. There is no crunch, no scream, just a sudden rush of water, and then silence returns. This is a predator that hunts with the inevitability of a glacier. It doesn't need to be fast because down here, there is nowhere to run. The darkness is a wall, and the cold is a cage. The maw simply waits, floating in the void, a patient monument to gluttony. Its metabolism is so slow that one meal can last it a decade, a horrifying slumber of digestion where the prey is slowly dissolved alive in the dark. It is the ultimate expression of energy conservation, a biological machine designed to turn the nothingness of the deep into massive, pulsating life. The silence of the abyss is the scariest part. In the jungle or the savanna, predators roar or growl. They announce their power. Here, death is completely silent. The only sound is the rhythmic thrumming of your own heart and the soft, wet slide of the maw moving through the dark. It is a lonely, claustrophobic horror, the feeling of being trapped in a room with a monster you cannot see, only knowing it is there because the air has suddenly gone still. The deep ocean is a tomb, and the abyssal maw is its gravedigger, cleaning the slate one slow gulp at a time. But the ocean is a place of contrasts. As terrifying as the dark is, it is honest. The danger here is palpable, heavy, and real. But miles above us, in the sun-drenched shallows where the water is warm and clear, a different kind of danger is evolving. It is a place of vibrant colors and breathtaking landscapes, a paradise that invites you in. But do not be fooled by the light. In the future ocean, beauty is the ultimate trap, and the most dangerous thing isn't the monster in the dark. It's the rock you just stepped on. We ascend now, leaving the crushing dark of the abyss behind. As we break the surface tension of the deep, the world explodes into color. We are in the shallow seas of the future, a place that looks, at first glance, like paradise restored. The water is crystal clear, bathed in golden sunlight that ripples across a vibrant landscape of pinks, purples, and electric greens. It feels safe here, a sanctuary of warmth and life far removed from the monsters of the deep. But do not let the beauty fool you. In the ocean, pretty is often just a synonym for poisonous. The reefs of this era are not built by the corals we know today. Those fragile architects died out long ago. Instead, these structures are a chaotic mix of toxic algae and hardy glass sponges, forming a labyrinth of sharp edges and deceiving shadows. Swimming through this underwater jungle is a game of high-stakes hide-and-seek. Every crevice promises shelter, and every overhang looks like a safe place to rest. But in this future ecosystem, the geography itself is a lie. Evolution has weaponized the very concept of safety, turning the desire for protection into a fatal mistake. Enter the reef mimic angler, the ultimate architect of deceit. This isn't a predator that chases you. It's a predator that becomes your home. Descended from the ambush hunters of our time, like the frogfish or stonefish, this creature has taken camouflage to a terrifying extreme. It doesn't just blend in with the reef. It is the reef. Its skin has hardened and calcified, mimicking the texture of rough sponge and coral rock with impossible accuracy. Algae grows on its back, and small crabs scuttle across its face, unaware that they are walking on a living, breathing death trap. The horror of the reef mimic lies in its patience. It can sit motionless for days, perhaps even weeks, slowing its heart rate until it is indistinguishable from a stone. It is a masterpiece of biological discipline, a statue of hunger that waits for the perfect moment. Small fish swarm around it, treating its gaping mouth like a cozy cave, nipping at the parasites on its lips. They are completely unaware that the ceiling of their new home is actually a set of jaws capable of snapping shut in milliseconds. The predator doesn't hunt. It simply opens the door and waits for dinner to walk in. Let's watch a school of future damselfish looking for a place to hide from a passing barracuda. They spot a perfect, cavernous overhang, a dark, inviting space that promises safety from the open water. They dart inside, relieved to be out of sight, huddling together in the cool shadow. For a moment, everything is peaceful. Then the floor of the cave heaves. The rock walls shudder, and a pair of eyes, cold and ancient, open in the darkness above them. The realization comes too late. They haven't found a shelter. They have swum directly into a stomach. The trap snaps shut with a violence that shakes the surrounding water. The vacuum pressure created by the reef mimic's massive mouth sucks the entire school deeper into its gullet before they can even turn to flee. Dust and sand billow up, clouding the water, and when the silt settles, the reef looks exactly as it did before. The cave is gone, the fish are gone, and the mimic has returned to its statuesque slumber. It is a perfect crime, leaving no witnesses and no evidence, just a silent, stony face waiting for the next desperate traveler. This kind of predation creates a unique psychological horror for the creatures that live here. In the deep sea, you fear the dark. Here, you fear the landscape. You can never truly relax because you can never be sure if the ground beneath you is solid or hungry. It breeds a state of constant, high-wire paranoia where trust is a fatal flaw. Survival in these beautiful, toxic gardens requires a skepticism so deep it is written into your DNA. You must treat every shadow as a threat and every sanctuary as a potential grave. But deception is a coward's game, a strategy for those who need to hide to kill. There are other creatures in this ocean who have no need for camouflage, who have never hidden a day in their lives. They do not trick you, they simply outlast you. As we move from the reef to the open sandy plains, we find that the evolutionary pendulum has swung back to an ancient, brutal standard. The age of trickery is over. Welcome to the age of armor, where the new kings of the ocean are built like tanks and crush their enemies with the slow, grinding inevitability of a tectonic plate. Leaving the deceptive gardens of the reef, we travel out to the vast, open plains of the continental shelf. Here, the seabed is a flat, endless desert of gray sand, swept by strong currents that strip away any place to hide. In this exposed arena, trickery is useless. You cannot pretend to be a rock when there are no rocks. You cannot blend in when your shadow stretches for yards across the barren floor. In this brutal landscape, evolution has reverted to a strategy as old as life itself. If you cannot hide, you must become unbreakable. Welcome to the era of the tank. History often repeats itself, and the ocean is a creature of habit. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the seas were ruled by placoderms, armored fish with heads like anvils and jaws like shears. Today, that heavy metal aesthetic has returned with a vengeance. The sleek, soft-bodied speedsters of the human era have been replaced by living fortresses. The biological arms race has escalated to a point where speed is no longer enough to save you. To survive here, you need plating, spikes, and a shell thick enough to stop a harpoon. The undisputed ruler of this armored kingdom is the emperor crab, a crustacean of such staggering proportions it defies modern biology. Imagine a creature the size of a small car, clad in a shell that is less like chitin and more like organic concrete. It is heavily calcified, scarred by centuries of failed attacks, and covered in barnacles that have lived and died on its back. This isn't just an animal. It is a moving geological feature. When it moves, it doesn't scuttle. It marches, its massive, pillar-like legs driving into the sand with the weight of a bulldozer. Watching the emperor crab hunt is an exercise in slow, creeping dread. It does not chase its prey, because it doesn't have to. It is an unstoppable force that simply walks through obstacles, crashing through coral heads and overturning boulders to get to what hides beneath. It relies on inevitability rather than surprise. If you are a bottom-dwelling fish, you can swim away, but you have to rest eventually. And when you do, you will hear it coming, the rhythmic, heavy thud of those legs closing the distance, never sprinting but never stopping. Its weaponry is primitive, brutal, and effective. The emperor possesses a master claw that is larger than a human torso, a hydraulic vise capable of exerting thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch. It doesn't cut. It pulverizes. It is designed to crush the shells of giant clams, turtles, and even other armored predators, turning bone and shell into dust. There is no precision here, only raw, mechanical power. When that claw snaps shut, the sound is like a gunshot underwater, a concussive blast that signals the end of a life. But the horror of this creature isn't just its strength. It is its mindlessness. Looking into its small, stalked eyes, there is no spark of recognition, no calculation like the social squid. There is only a simple biological program. Find, crush, eat. It is a machine made of meat and calcium, indifferent to pain and impossible to reason with. It is the biological equivalent of a slow-moving tank that has lost its driver but kept its engine running. It will eat anything it crosses, a blind gluttony protected by an invincible shield. In this world of armor, the ocean floor becomes a graveyard of shattered shells. The sand is littered with the fragments of those who thought their own defenses were enough. The emperor crab reminds us that in the evolutionary arms race, every shield eventually meets a hammer that can break it. It is a stark, violent existence where the only law is physics, force against resistance. But even this invincible tank has a weakness. It is cold-blooded, reliant on the water's temperature to fuel its engine. This brings us to the final turn in our journey. We have seen the smart, the deep, the hidden, and the armored. But there is one niche left unfilled, one throne that demands a ruler with a fire inside. The true apex predator of this future ocean isn't a fish, or a crab, or a worm. It is a usurper, an invader that has returned from the land to reclaim its birthright. It brings with it a weapon more dangerous than any claw or venom, a warm-blooded metabolism and a brain built for war. We have seen the ocean's future kings, the hypnotists, the living traps, the slime-coated nightmares, and the invincible tanks. They are all terrifying, efficient, and perfectly adapted to their specific corners of this watery world. But if you look at the history of Earth, the true rulers of the sea have rarely been fish or crabs. The greatest tyrants have always been the invaders, the ones who crawled back into the water from the land, bringing with them the secrets of air and fire. The final monster in our gallery is not a child of the deep. It is a usurper, a warm-blooded conqueror returning to claim the throne. Meet the seal dragon, a creature that is the terrifying answer to the question, what happens if you cross a leopard seal with a mythical serpent? It is massive, stretching over 40 feet, with a sleek, elongated body that ripples with muscle and heat. It does not have the stiff, jerky movements of a fish or the lumbering gait of a crab. It flows. It is a descendant of the pinnipeds, seals, and sea lions that survived the extinction and took the plunge fully back into the aquatic life, shedding their fur for thick, rubbery skin and evolving their limbs into powerful, grasping flippers. The most disturbing thing about the seal dragon is not its size, or its razor-sharp teeth, or even its speed. It is its eyes. When you look into the eyes of the abyssal maw, you see nothing. When you look into the eyes of the emperor crab, you see a machine. But when you look into the eyes of this creature, you see recognition. It has the large, forward-facing eyes of a predator that thinks, plans, and remembers. There is an intelligence behind that gaze that feels uncomfortably familiar, a spark of mammalian cunning that bridges the gap between beast and monster. Unlike the cold-blooded killers we have met so far, this creature carries its own furnace. Being warm-blooded is expensive, but it buys you the most dangerous weapon of all, stamina. The emperor crab must rest. The social squid must wait for the currents. The seal dragon never tires. It can chase down prey for miles, outlasting the bursts of speed from cold-blooded fish, wearing them down until they simply give up. It is an endurance hunter, a relentless pursuer that turns the entire ocean into a hunting ground where there is literally nowhere to hide. Watch it hunt. It finds a social squid pack, the brilliant tacticians of the shallows. Against any other predator, the squid would dazzle and confuse, but the seal dragon is too smart for cheap tricks. It ignores the flashing lights, anticipating the squid's movements, cutting off their escape routes with calculated precision. It doesn't just react, it predicts. It breaches the surface to breathe air, a reminder of its terrestrial heritage, before diving back down with renewed energy, crashing through the squid's formation like a wolf scattering sheep. It is not a battle. It is a slaughter. This creature represents the ultimate synthesis of nature's deadliest traits. It has the size of a whale, the agility of an otter, and the brain of a primate. It is a reminder that intelligence is the most lethal adaptation of all. In this future ocean, it is the closest thing to a god, a being that can travel from the freezing poles to the tropical equator, dominating every ecosystem it enters. It sits at the very top of the food pyramid, looking down at the crabs, the mimics, and the monsters, knowing that it can kill them all. As we pull back and look at this alien blue world, 50 million years removed from our own, we realize something profound. The players have changed, the costumes are different, and the stage is unrecognizable, but the play remains the same. The ocean is still a place of beautiful, violent cycles, where voids are filled and weakness is punished. Humanity may be gone, our cities ground to dust and our voices silenced, but the drama of life continues without us. The silence we felt at the beginning was never empty. It was just the deep breath before the next act. So, who are the new predators of the future? They are the inevitable results of time and pressure, the monsters that rise when the old gods fall. From the hypnotic lights of the surface to the crushing dark of the abyss, the ocean has proven once again that it is the greatest cradle of nightmares in the universe. We may not be there to see them, to name them, or to fear them, but in the cold, dark heart of the water, they will be there, swimming through the ruins of our world, hunting, living, and ruling the deep forever.